Welcome, everyone, to a Short Conversation podcast, a podcast where we talk about our favorite fandoms. My name is Alex.
My name is Alicia.
Today's fandom is none other than the Twilight Saga.
Twilight.
In this episode, today we will be discussing the first 12 chapters of Twilight, as well as doing a deep dive into the characters of Charlie and Renee as we go. So, to start off with, in the first few chapters, is there anything that kind of stood out to you that either keeps jumping out at you each time you read this book, or that stood out to you that's new, that you hadn't caught before?
Okay, so first reading it,
Mm-hmm.
I took in everything like a sponge, right? Because
Right.
I was really young when I read this. And then on subsequent reads, I really only cared about like getting to the action. Like, let's get to the vampires, let's get to all this stuff. That this past read, I actually was like, I know what happens with the action. I want to focus on the minor details, specifically about Bella and the surrounding characters,
Right.
attitudes, their behaviors, because I think we've all been like, if you read Twilight, seen Twilight, were part of the Twilight phenomenon, you know everything you can about the Cullens, but it's Bella who kind of gets lost in that like whole fray of what her actual personality was like in the books.
Exactly. I think because the movies went so huge for the fandom, it basically was I don't know if you would consider it an overnight sensation, but it pretty much blew up. I remember some interviews with the cast saying that they didn't realize that this was going to blow up as big as it did. So I think because of that, a lot of character traits from the book in regards to Bella kind of get lost.
Yes.
Because everyone has Kristen Stewart stuck in their head, which is understandable. And I think at the end of the day, Kristen did an amazing job. But there are things that kind of get lost through the art of filming.
Yeah.
One thing I think we can both say is her humor gets lost.
She's so funny.
She is so funny. Her and Edward together are funny.
So funny.
Right. So many. And I mean, one instance at the top in my mind is just as she's getting to know Edward and coming close to finding out his secret, who he truly is. There are just times where they play jokes on each other.
Yeah.
And she's just genuinely hilarious at times, playing jokes, and that kind of gets lost. And
I mean, even like within the first chapter, she's like, oh, sarcasm and like cloudy skies don't mix. I'm gonna lose my sense of humor here. And it's like, no, you're not, because Edward is gonna balance it out because he is also so sarcastic.
So sarcastic. Another thing that I caught on to in the first few chapters is the things that the personality traits and the physical traits that she took from Renee, and then what she took from Charlie.
Oh my gosh,
as we know, everyone is a good blend of both of their parents at times. And so, like, she goes into the fact that she looks like her mom. So physically, she looks like there's some features there. There's also some physical features that she's gotten from Charlie, but the main thing that she got from Charlie was the fact that they're very like introverted. They're similar in their personalities. So they spend practically the entire car ride quiet. I mean, they speak to each other, but very little. And I remember thinking, and I think she says it here in the books, she says it'll be easy living with Charlie.
Yes.
I think at some point she even says that living with Charlie was like living on her own, because
Yes.
they kind of stayed to themselves, and
like they have their own routine
right,
that they kind
right,
of stick to. Like,
right. But I kind of like that. I kind of like how Charlie had his routine. Get up, go to work, go to the diner.
yeah,
Um,
bacon, and eggs. That's his go-to
yes.
meal.
Um, and
And
come home and reset for the next day. And that doesn't really change when Bella comes, as far as like
no,
his routine. What changes is he's now allowed to get to know his daughter in the way that he's always wanted to.
hmm
And as a
and
result, they do get closer by the end of the series, which I love.
like, and she's a natural like caregiver. Like
Right,
she takes care of the household. Like
right.
she's cooking dinner. She's in charge of the food. Charlie cannot cook, and what he can is very basic. Renee couldn't cook at all, so Bella was in charge of that, and she can like keep up that
Mm-hmm.
this is normal routine for me.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice that they can easily mesh together and also be able to feel like I'm not being like overly stimulated because I'm in a new situation.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question, and our listeners can comment on
Please do.
Instagram if they have an opinion. But as we know, one of the most iconic lines that I love that it went straight from the book to the movie
Mhm.
is, one of the best things about Charlie is he doesn't hover.
So good.
So we know that he doesn't hover. He kind of lets her create her own schedule or her own routine as she moves to Forks.
He
He
buys her
keeps
a
to his
truck.
own. He does everything to try to make her comfortable, but not be overbearing and like helicopter
Yeah.
parent. So would Renee be the opposite of that and be the helicopter parent, or
I
is she a
mean,
whole nother thing altogether? What do you think?
with in the first chapter, you have the messages in the email from Renee,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which are sent within at least 12 hours,
Right.
to the point where it's like, "Hi, how are you? Where's my pink shirt?" To, "You haven't answered me. Where are you?" To, "If
Yes.
you don't answer me, I'm going to call Charlie."
Yes, this is in chapter 2,
Thank
open
you.
book, pages 33 to 34.
Yes.
Um, this is after she's gotten home from her first, I believe it's her first day,
Yes.
end of her first day. And she checks her email, realizing that she had not checked it since she arrived in Forks.
Yeah.
And so, yes, she gets the first message, which is just casual, like, write me as soon as you get in, tell me how it was, or tell me how your flight was. And then she asks a couple of questions that she wants Bella to answer. Then she goes on to the next, which was written 8 hours after the first.
Yeah.
And then it's a little frantic. Why haven't you emailed me yet? Where are you? What are you waiting for? The last one was from that morning before she went to school.
hmm
And it's no longer starting with Bella. She is full naming her Isabella. If I haven't heard from you by 5:30 p.m. today, I'm calling Charlie. And so she quickly writes back to calm her down and then say, I'm writing right now. Because she says that her mom is also known to jump the gun a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
so I don't know, would that be considered helicopter parent?
I think it's on the line of helicopter
Right.
parent, but
Uh-huh.
Renee is her own like in a different category, I feel, because
Yeah.
she's very flighty, as Bella says.
It's
And like
funny.
Bella's that constant.
Mm-hmm.
So like
She is.
her, like Bella not being there to like keep Renee in check, I
Right.
feel is like making her a little nervous
Mm-hmm.
because she's relying on Phil now, her new husband.
Right. Yeah. It's funny that you call her flighty, because when I was doing my deep dive of Renee, it described Renee's mother, Bella's grandmother, and Renee in kind of the same paragraph. So with Renee, she, first of all, has a very different personality than her mother, than Bella's grandmother. And it describes her as fun-loving, creative, and artistic, but flighty and inconsistent.
Well, there you go.
And then I highlighted a quote here, I guess kind of gearing toward the artistic side of Renee. This is on page 35, this is when Charlie's home, she's cooking dinner.
Yep.
And Charlie has asked what's for dinner.
Yep.
And Bella notices that he asks this very,
nervously.
Suspiciously. Very nervously. Because, she says, my mother was an imaginative cook, and her experiments weren't always edible. So that is very in line with the artistic side. Just loves to experiment, loves to just throw things together.
Yeah, so, see what comes out of it.
Right. Right. Speaking of that,
Charlie's very basic.
Charlie is very basic. I mean, it's described, as we said, Renee's described as fun-loving, creative, artistic, but flighty and inconsistent, whereas Charlie is a lot more like Bella.
Yeah, he's very grounded, personality-wise. Straightforward.
Very straightforward. I get a sense that he's one of those people that once they have a routine down, they don't like to stray from. That's it. They don't like to stray from it very often, which I think, in a lot of ways, Bella's a little bit like that, but she's also a lot more forgiving in her scheduling. She also,
I mean, growing up with Renee,
she also has the adventure. Right. She also has the adventurous side from Renee.
Yeah.
Because Renee, Renee loves being in the moment. And so there are lots of situations where Bella is in the moment and not freaking out that her routine has been ruined. Anything else from the first 2 to 3 chapters that really stood out to you?
I mean, do we want to talk about her friends that she meets?
We can, yeah. She meets quite a few friends.
Yeah. You got Golden Retriever Mike. You've got
Chess Club Eric.
You've got frenemy Jessica.
I was gonna say Mean Girl Jessica, but I actually think that Mean Girl could be
Lauren,
yes. I was gonna say Lauren Mallory. She's total mean girl, but also we've got to remember that it was all because Tyler was obsessed with Bella.
Yeah,
and she liked Tyler.
Oh my gosh!
So it's one of those high school drama. Yeah, don't miss it.
High school drama.
Don't miss it at all.
I mean, yeah. I was gonna say, but does it really ever end? Kind of, but at the same time, it's put into a different context. But
right, exactly.
You also have the best person ever who deserves the world, Angela.
Yes, we
love
her.
Angela.
We love her.
I am very biased. I love Angela.
It's very, very good bias because she's a good friend. Angela. She's a good friend who is much more intuitive than we give her credit for.
She is so she is a photographer. She has to have the unknown details.
We will definitely be doing a deep dive into
I love Angela.
Our opinions and our theories on Angela. Right.
Eventually.
Yes. Let's see. One thing that I wanted to point out is how great I think Stephanie was at putting bits and pieces in her writing that foreshadowed something that was to come.
Yes.
Specifically in the first chapter when Bella arrives in Forks for the first time, even before her first day of school, she talks about having a glitch in her brain.
Yes.
And she uses this, she's saying this, describing the feeling of not fitting in anywhere. And she even questions if she was seeing the world through her eyes that everybody else was seeing through theirs. Like, was she seeing the world the same way? And then she goes on to say maybe there's a glitch in my brain, which I will say the first time I read this, I did not catch on to that, but more recently, I've loved that little foreshadowing because, as we know,
there is
her vampire power becomes ultimately becomes what saves them. So
yeah. Way to go, Stephanie.
Yes. Love that. I love those little points. Like, even as she's understanding or coming, as she's getting all the information and she's realizing that Edward's more than human, she doesn't quite know everything yet, but there's still little points of foreshadowing that tell me that there's something that should tell her there's something else going on.
Yeah.
That he's not just any normal supernatural creature. There's something more about him.
Yes. I mean, we have our dreams.
Absolutely. And I do want to go into that because
let's do it.
Within these first 12 chapters, she has at least two.
Yes.
One is
in the beginning of chapter 4, invitations.
Right. It's so in chapter 4 she has the first of these two dreams / nightmares. And the first one is really just
it's pretty basic.
It's nothing
nothing too crazy. It's
nothing too crazy, nothing too dark, nothing that's gonna kind of push her to the answer that she's looking for. But there's a lot of clues in it.
Yes. You got the dim light radiating from Edward's skin. You have him walking away from her and her trying to chase him.
Right. Chapter 4 opens saying, "In my dream it was very dark, and what dim light there was seemed to be radiating from Edward's skin." So that, first and foremost, is a foreshadowing to what his skin looks like in the sun.
Hey, Bella.
She's just not,
way to go.
Just not catching on to it, I guess. Which, understandable, because by chapter 4, she doesn't know anything. She hasn't had the scary stories yet, so
no,
she doesn't know anything.
Really, very, very.
It
very
continues
odd.
It continues by saying, "I couldn't see his face, just his back, as he walked away from me, leaving me in the blackness. No matter how fast I ran, I couldn't catch up to him. No matter how loud I called, he never turned. Troubled, I woke in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep again for what seemed like a very long time." So very short, very basic, but there's a lot packed in there. As far as
the fact that she has that dream every night for a month. Girl, your brain is telling you
something. It's trying to tell you.
It's that glitch in your brain is already on high active alert of something's up.
Right.
Girl.
Yes. Yeah, and then the next time that she has the dream is a little bit different
because she had her conversation with Jacob.
Because it occurs after Scary Stories.
Yep.
And it actually involves not only Edward this time, but Jacob is in it, and Mike is in it as well.
Mike is in it. Way to go, Mike! You made it into her dreams.
You made it into her dreams. Let's be very clear, though. You are not the man of her dreams.
You are not the man of her dreams.
I love it. The big point in this dream, though, is how she is running toward. Again, she's still running toward toward Edward, but both Jacob and Mike are trying to get her to turn away. I think even Mike is yelling at her, like, "Run,
Yeah,
Bella!"
like they are afraid, but
They're afraid
isn't.
for her. Yeah. Um, she's gotten back from La Push.
Yep.
She doesn't even want to think about the scary story, so she puts on headphones, cranks the music, and she just lies down on her bed and tries to forget. That's when she falls asleep and has this nightmare. She opens her eyes to a familiar place, aware in some corner of her consciousness that she was dreaming. She says, "I recognize the green light of the forest. I could hear the waves crashing against the rocks somewhere nearby, and I knew that if I found the ocean, I'd be able to see the sun. I was trying to follow the sound, but then Jacob Black was there, tugging on my hand, pulling me back toward the blackest part of the forest." So, throughout this nightmare, she has two people, Jacob and Mike, trying to pull her away from Edward, and her subconscious, I believe, her desire to know Edward and get these questions answered, is pulling her toward him in this dream, in this nightmare. At the end of the nightmare, she's awoke. Before she wakes, the last thing that happens is Jacob has been replaced in the dream with a wolf, and the wolf launches himself at Edward, and she screams, which wakes her up. And then she decides that she kind of took her, I think in the story, she took her time getting ready, but not nearly as long as she wanted to. And she does some research on vampires, which brings her to a decision that she's got to make. And she says that there were two vital questions that needed to be answered. First, I had to decide if it was possible that what Jacob had said about the Cullens could be true. Then, most important question of all, what was she going to do if it was true? And then she ends up bringing two options. Either she could take Edward's advice and stay away from him, or she could do nothing and just continue on like nothing happened. She goes on to say the thought of not interacting with him just didn't sit right with her. She even says, like going back to the nightmare, she says that screaming when the wolf lunged wasn't for fear of herself. It wasn't the fear of the wolf that made her cry out. It was the fear that Edward would be harmed.
Yeah.
And so she said then, even as he called to me with sharp-edged fangs, I feared for him. I feared for him. And I knew in that I had my answer. So she comes to the conclusion that she can't stay away from this guy.
Yeah, no.
And we already know that he can't stay away from her, which sparks
Nope.
the great romance of Twilight.
The great romance.
Yes.
Yeah. Edward's a vampire.
Edward's a vampire.
And she knows it,
And
but
she knows it, but she
can't
doesn't know it.
directly ask him, because that's such a weird thing to do, to walk up to someone and be like, hey, you a vampire?
Which, one thing I do love is later on in one of the chapters, I believe it's chapter I think it's actually in the Port Angeles chapter before they actually go to Port Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, no, actually, I'm wrong. I know where it was. It's in the chapter Theories once they're like on their way home from Port Angeles. And she's already, like, she knows what he is, but she's trying to get more information. And he's trying to get her to say it because, as we know, he cannot say it. He cannot speak the
Break
words.
the treaty.
I am a well, not just that, but he has law vampires have laws that they have to live by.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're
Right.
so right. We don't know
So
about that yet, but
one thing that I found interesting in that conversation is a little part of that conversation, she talks about Jacob, and she says, because first of all, she says, I don't know how to begin. And he said, start from the beginning. How did you come up with this theory? And she mentioned that it was while they were in the push. She mentions Jacob, and she specifically says that Jacob said that they weren't dangerous. And he looks at her and questions it. She goes, he said we weren't dangerous. And she corrects herself and says, he said you weren't supposed to be. That because of their diet, they don't have to hurt humans. Which is, right in line with their lifestyle.
Yeah.
But he says, so she mentions that Jacob helped her come up with this theory. He says, what did Jacob say? And this is page 186 of chapter 9, I believe. She says, he said you didn't hunt people. He said your family wasn't supposed to be dangerous because you only hunted animals. He looks confused and comes back with, he said we weren't dangerous. And in my mind, the face that he's making is saying, I'm confused. But his mind is probably saying, this kid is an idiot. Like, here he is.
You're probably not wrong.
Like, here he is, spilling all of our trade secrets. And they're the ones...
Like, what are you doing, child?
Like, they're the ones that have the treaty.
You're the ones that told us to, like, keep our mouth shut.
Right.
And here you are, like, hey, let me give you some hot tea and hot tea.
Right? And even, like, a little bit in the chapter before when they were on, or, like, maybe 2 chapters before when they were on the beach of La Push, Jacob even jokes, I guess I just broke the treaty. Ha ha ha.
Whoops. My bad.
But I find it so interesting that Jacob went from, guess I just broke the treaty, ha ha ha, to he's the only one trying to keep the treaty there.
Right?
Well, not the only one. I mean, the rest of the wolves are upholding the treaty as well, but he's the one that keeps bringing it up.
It's so funny.
Right.
Like, the fact that, like, this wasn't even, like, New Moon and all those other books were not what was planned. But the fact that you have all this set up to these other books.
Yes, because...
Just so good.
Yeah. I think what you're alluding to is the original sequel.
The original plan, yeah.
The original sequel to Twilight was a book called Forever Dawn, which...
Oh my gosh.
found out recently that it is in the Library of Congress.
It is.
So, need to make a trip there to read Forever Dawn, because I need to know what would have happened if, New Moon and Eclipse didn't happen. I mean, I've got my theories, and I talked to all of my Twilight theories, and I talked to all of my Twilight friends about it, but, no one knows except the person that wrote it herself. And so...
Or the people that have read it, like, who purposely went there to be like, I want to read Forever Dawn.
I mean, selfishly, I want to read it because I want a new canon in my... I mean, I think a lot of us can say that that if there's a possibility that Edward never left, we would want that, right?
I mean, obviously, but the drama.
I mean, think about it. We erase the triangle.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
We keep Irina alive.
Would love that.
Yeah. So
we'll just make our own canon. It's fine.
Exactly. I mean, we already kind of have, actually.
We have done that.
But
that's for a different tale.
So Edward's response to what Bella has told him about
all of this,
Jacob's belief behind the stories, Because again, like, Jacob's not a wolf yet. He has not gone through that turn. So he still thinks that they are scary stories that his dad and the tribe elders are telling them to scare them, to keep them out of Forks. Yeah. I mean, as we know, like, Charlie and Billy are best friends. Yet, I believe throughout this entire first book, the only time that Billy comes to Charlie's house is twice,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, once to um drop something off, and then
Yeah,
another time he stayed and watched a game.
I think so.
Yeah. So, like, dude, you're supposed to be this guy's best friend, but you only come around twice in the story. Um,
Well, I mean, to be fair, Charlie is not happy with him because he and his people refuse to come and go to the hospital because they're
right.
bad-mouthing Dr. Cullen,
That can take
who
a
he is a big fan of.
that's a good segue into Charlie. Um, One thing that I found interesting that I wrote down about Charlie is that, as we know, Billy Black, Harry Clearwater, and Quill Atera were best of friends. Those four
Yep,
were best friends.
BFFs.
Right.
They were a clique.
Charlie always felt a bit on the outside of that
Yeah.
friend group, but always attributed it to the distance, the fact that they all lived on the reservation, that they don't come to the hospital when something's going on, when something's wrong. He attributed it to the fact that they just don't come into town anymore. What I found really upsetting and really sad about this is that the truth is that he felt on the outside because they were in on the secret and he was not. So I kind of like imagine the relief when Billy, Quill, and Charlie got to reconnect after Jacob revealed who he was to Charlie. Just
Charlie.
the relief
Oh,
that
Charlie.
he must have felt
Sweet Charlie.
to be like in the know finally.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same relief that I think that Leah felt when she turned.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that- that was just really sad. I felt for Charlie. It's like, oh,
I love Charlie. I
you know.
I love how, like, you know, I love how passionate he is about people though. Like, what he like his daughter, he's a caregiver. He took care of his parents, right?
He did. He was born and raised in Forks. He had older parents. They were in their mid-40s when
Yeah.
they had him. Uh he was not expected, but a very welcome introduction, or a very, very welcome addition to the family.
Yes.
Um for those of you that may not have known, his parents are Jeffrey and Helen Swan. Those are their
Way to
names.
go.
He was very close to them.
Hmm.
Obviously, born and raised in Forks, he stayed there. He never moved away. And
What?
then, as we know, he and Renee meet each other.
Yeah.
Which, if you didn't know, they met on the beach in La Push. Actually,
Cute. Meet cute.
yes, right. And it was kind of like an instant attraction for them. But Renee was on a trip there, not already living there, so it was a short time that they got to spend to get to know each other. But it was kind of one of those things where he couldn't get his mind off of this woman that he met on the beach. So they tried to
So
keep in contact,
cute.
and then eventually got to the point where he proposed and they got married. They got married in Port Angeles and had Bella soon after. Unfortunately, we all know Renee started to feel like the relationship was stale. There was no adventure anymore. It just
Hmm. She felt
it fizzled. It fizzled. It was it said that the gray gloominess, the raininess of Forks kind of put her into a bit of a depression, a bit
hmm
of a depressed state. And she soon felt trapped in Forks, which is how we get Bella's when she what she says to get Charlie
Yeah.
to let her leave towards the
Oh
end
my
of the book.
gosh. Such a terrible thing to do.
But yeah, so she felt trapped, and Bella was about 4 months old when
Mm-hmm.
they decided that she was going to leave and move away.
I,
What I
I
love about
feel,
this is that it's a very like unfortunate situation, and it's sad.
mm,
So I don't like love the situation, but one thing that I felt stood out was that Charlie didn't want much after the divorce. All he wanted was time with his daughter.
stop. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I love how telling this is of who Charlie is because, like, 5 minutes after Bella leaves, Renee's like turning her room into a yoga studio.
Yep.
What, 12 years after, or like, yeah, 17 years after Bella
Practically
leaves,
17 years, yeah.
his, he hasn't changed anything about her room
The
except
room is
like
the
the
same.
basic stuff.
The room is the same, and he trades out the crib for a bed. He puts a
Yeah,
desk, he puts a
and a
computer,
computer in there.
and a phone
Like,
line, I
I
believe.
can't. Charlie is such, oh, this is where he gets, like, where she gets her caregiver um
Right. Right.
personality from, because
I
even then he's a police officer.
uh-huh.
Everybody respects him.
Yeah.
And
Which
then
can we talk about, like, he didn't just become a police officer.
no,
He wanted to go to college,
yeah,
but he had to take care of his family. His
yeah,
parents were already their health was already declining by the time he
what a
graduated
man.
high school. So he was already wanting to take care of them.
Hmm.
He couldn't do that and go to school. So
No,
he decided to join the police department,
yeah,
which like he is
clearly
great
he,
clearly great at his job if he made it to
right,
chief of police,
what a guy.
right.
And
So,
the fact that like he's like, he knows it's a small town, he knows what kind of town it is, has
mhm.
never had to fire a shot.
Bella says as far as she knows he's never had to shoot the gun on the job, but he
And
always keeps it loaded. He always keeps it ready.
except for when she was younger, because
He was
he was a responsible adult.
right, right.
and and so accommodating, like when Bella finally puts her foot down of like, I don't want to go to Forks, which I feel is a learned trait from her mother, talking about how terrible Forks was, that
I was gonna
because
say, like, that's a big
she,
question,
yeah,
whether or not her distaste for Forks, her hatred for Forks, was actual, like, I don't
I
like
don't
going to
like it,
Forks,
or it's
or was
because
it
that's what
her
he's
mother
been
constantly
taught.
talking about how trapped she felt? And
Yes,
because, as we know, as she gets to know Edward, Forks becomes home to her.
she loves the clouds, she loves Charlie, she finds beauty in, the greenery,
Right,
and
right, and
and that's where she wants to like spend the rest of her life.
yeah, I do, I totally agree with you.
It's such a learned trait
I think it's a learned
because
trait.
because she I mean, she obviously eats fish. Her dad loves fishing. She cooks it. Like,
Yep,
there's a ton of reserves of fish that she cooks with throughout this whole story.
right.
um she enjoys La Push. She enjoys the people there. Like,
Like,
she feels like, and even in the beginning it's like, oh, I'm walking through, like driving into the school. Her truck doesn't stand out against all the other cars because it's
except one
old. Except for one, because shiny Volvo. Stupid shiny
tiny
Volvo
Volvo owner.
owner. Um, she's not tan like how she should have been. She looks like everybody there. This is where she's meant to be. That's
Absolutely.
why she's never felt right where she's been, because she wasn't meant to be in Phoenix.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
was meant to be in Forks.
Yes.
I'm just trying to imagine what could have happened had Renee left her with Charlie, and instead Charlie be the main caregiver,
I
and she
feel
went to
like
visit Renee.
I feel like that if this had been a less mutual
Mm-hmm.
divorce, I think the divorce was pretty like
It
simple
was. It
as
was.
far as, but I think that's mainly because there was still love there.
Yes.
It was
Well.
like right people, wrong time
Yes.
sort of
No. You were.
situation, but
You were
not
right.
like, not necessarily wrong time, but wrong place.
Yeah.
And it was a mix of wrong time and wrong place
Yeah.
because
The timing was just terrible.
had Charlie been able to say,
To.
okay, I can move. We can
Yeah.
move wherever you want. I'll do whatever for you. And I think he would have, but it was taking care of his parents
Mm-hmm.
that kept him there.
I just had a thought bubble in my head. What's the one thing that, like, when you think of Bella, what's the number one thing of her personality that you think of?
It's actually lots of things.
I was gonna say it's one that me and you literally talk about, especially within the preface of her being very
Self-sacrificing.
self-sacrificing. She gets that
Self-sacrificing.
from Charlie.
She so
Charlie
does.
gave up everything for everyone else.
Literally, literally. He gave up college for his parents.
He
He,
gave up Bella and Renee because of Renee's need to
right. Which I think,
find happiness.
like I said, I think that if it was a less simpler divorce where it ended up in court,
Yeah.
we could have seen him fighting for Bella. Because like right now they have understanded like joint custody. So he does get to see Bella. But had it gone to court and she fought and he fought but not as much and he was
Hmm.
willing, there's, I don't want to hurt her. I know that she understands. Like I feel like he still
Hmm.
would have been the same.
Charlie's
He still
just.
would have had the same mindset that he did in the original version of the divorce where like there's still love there. He knows that she needs Bella.
Mhm.
And as long as he gets to see her, he's okay. But I think because I don't think there's really any situation that this could have been a hard divorce
No.
because Charlie's just not the person.
Charlie's very accommodating,
He's very accommodating. And yes, he'll fight. I think he'll fight for the person he cares about,
but he knows.
but not at the
I
expense of
think he
someone
realizes,
else that
like,
he
yeah.
cares about.
I think he realizes like what they need for their happiness
He
because I
did.
mean, even continuing down the line.
I think that he worried for what could happen to
Yeah.
Renee if he had taken Bella. If Bella had stayed with him and was raised by him, he was worried about what could have happened to her,
Hmm.
like mentally, um, and all.
Well, that's a great question then. Like, okay, so Renee left with Bella at 4 months.
4 months.
Was it because was it really because she was unhappy with Forks, or did she just have postpartum depression?
That is interesting
Yeah.
because um when I was doing the deep dive and I looked into their relationship, everything was great. Like,
Yeah.
you know, she fell in love with the idea of loving Charlie and
Hmm.
it was new and exciting and that is a big kind of motivator for her and that's a big
Of why she.
common
Yeah.
it's the common denominator within everything that she does is she's trying to find that next new thing, that next
Yes.
adventure. um I mean it even
Mhm.
says like her mother, Renee's mother, was a difficult and bitter woman, but also very hardworking and loyal. In the second year of high school, so Renee's a sophomore at this point,
Mhm.
she moves out of her mother's home
Yeah.
and moves in with a friend who had an apartment and had the space for her to move in.
Hmm.
She then started working odd jobs to be able to pay for the rent and everything. Um, one of those people that went from job to job as she got bored,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But she moved out originally claiming that she could no longer live with her pessimistic mother.
Yeah.
Pessimistic mother.
You got it.
Which is like a drastic difference from when Bella moves away, because Renee moves away because she couldn't stand living with her mother. It's not that Bella can't stand living with her mom, it's that she understands that living with her mom is taking something away from her.
Yes.
So it's almost like both Charlie and Bella see what staying in one place does for her.
I feel like had she gotten help, they could have made their relationship work.
I think it would have been very interesting to have that be a part of the story, to have that mental health aspect.
I think I'm seeing a new light to Renee.
Really? Okay.
I think I am.
Okay.
If you know me, I can really throw a lot of things at Renee. I mean, I can still throw a lot of things at Renee. I just feel like I have a better understanding of her in this moment, being like, her
that is what
personality, she needs that next excitement. She needs that jolt of adrenaline.
right.
Foreshadowing to New Moon. But I also do believe, yeah, I think she suffered from postpartum depression because she had that excitement, it dwindled down, and now she feels stuck and thinking this is my life for the next 50 years. Holy crap.
I mean, I think that was, Bella explains that Renee is already young for her age.
Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't quite act her age.
She never
Which
acts
is like,
right.
that's
No.
weird to say. That's weird to say about an adult character, but
Yeah.
I digress. And she thinks that Phil makes her feel even younger.
Yes.
And I don't think it's like I don't want to age type of thing. It's like you said, like we've been discussing, she wants that next adventure. So the idea
Yes.
of
And
marrying
Phil is
Phil
able to give that to her.
and Phil being a traveling baseball player, it gives that exciting traveling to her. Which I kind of understand that aspect because I love traveling. Now, I also like the idea of settling down and having a constant place to call home. But I also love to travel, so I kind of get both sides of it.
I think like what Stephanie did with them was exactly what the story needed. And I really do love Charlie's second chance that he's given.
I know.
It's so good.
Hmm.
It's so good.
Which makes
I
that.
just wish.
What
And
was
I
that?
mean, obviously Bella needed to have this experience in order to be who she is and to successfully become what she will. It's so heartbreaking to think of Charlie literally living every day with that empty child bedroom right across the hall
Hmm.
and not having the ability to be
Hmm.
with his child.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. Like, huh.
I
I can't.
definitely like.
I can't.
I would love the opportunity to sit down with Stephanie. I know this is like it would be not only a once in a lifetime opportunity, but it would be almost an impossible dream to sit down with her and talk with
We
her.
can imagine. We can dream like Bella.
Right. But I would ask her a lot about Charlie's character specifically, but Charlie and Renee, their relationship,
But
because like I I wonder if, because as we know, until she was until the age of 14, she spent 2 weeks,
yeah.
or no, she spent an entire summer
Yeah.
with Charlie
With
in
Charlie.
Forks.
Yeah.
But I wonder if throughout the year he ever like missed her so much that he jumped on a plane or jumped in the car and drove down to them for a weekend or whatever.
I would hope
Probably be a
so.
long drive, but I figure he...
He sent a ton of Christmas gifts.
See, that's what, like, that's the kind of stuff I want to know. Like, what did he do about holidays?
Okay. I feel like he would I would feel like I don't know if I would feel like for Thanksgiving he wouldn't have a traditional Thanksgiving. He would go down to the res and hang out with Billy.
Absolutely.
And then for Easter, I don't know. I mean, Easter's coming up, or
It
will have
is.
already occurred around the time we post this. I don't. I feel okay. This is what he would do for Easter. He would have the police department set up a Easter egg hunt.
Oh, cute. I love it.
That is my
For
headcanon.
all the kids around town.
How cute would that be? Like, he can't spend it with his daughter, but he's like, this is something I can do.
Okay, now I'm just imagining that he makes this a tradition, does it almost every year. And let's say this is a year before Bella decides to move. Collins have just moved there. It's the first Easter since they've been there. He makes the egg hunt, and he sees Jessica over there, Mike over there, uh, Tyler over here. You know, all of the students, all the kids. Where are those Cullen kids? Where are they? We're missing them. What are they doing?
What?
Why are they not participating? Even
You
though they would...
know, Emmett is chomping at the bit, like, I all those eggs,
I
guys.
can't. I mean, come on.
And Alex,
Which,
like, you think you could get them all, but I know where they all are, so
as
that is
if
my
to,
head.
like, Edward kind of like staring at Charlie, going, think about where you left them.
Think where you put them. Give me a sign here.
Think about where you left them right now.
Because he has a difficult time reading Charlie. It's like,
It's fuzzy, but yeah, he still reads
give
them.
me
But
it.
yeah,
I need to beat these two.
yeah.
Which is why Rosalie's like, no, we are not doing that.
You're forcing me to go to high school. That is as
I am
humane
not
as I will
doing this.
be.
And her being like, look at my twin. Does he look ready for this?
The one that always Jasper, the one that looks like he's in pain.
Going out. Yes, we're hunting eggs. No, not the children. Eggs. Oh my gosh, I love this.
I can imagine Emmett's Easter basket.
Stop. Okay, Emmett's Easter basket.
Bag.
I was gonna say no. I was gonna say like you know how they have those fuzzy Easter baskets now? He would have his be a customized bear. But
Yes.
no, the plastic eggs in the plastic bag. Chef's kiss. Beautiful.
Which, I saw an interview recently, and I may have seen it years before, but I was reminded of it recently.
Oh my
He
gosh.
talks about the decision to be carrying the eggs.
Oh my god.
And he said that to prepare for the movie, he was working out, bulking up, preparing to be muscular Emmett. And part of his
Diet.
eating diet routine, like for protein or, I guess, yeah, for protein, he would eat hard-boiled eggs, I think. So, yeah. So he was like, what, he said Emmett's a jock.
Why wouldn't
He
he
would be
carry
working,
around?
like they're trying to act human. Emmett's a jock. He would be the one to be like working out and, working out all the time and eating good. And, he would like, why not? This would make him look more human. So he went to Catherine and said, "What do you think about this?" And she goes, "Love it."
Come to find out years later, Bella being like, no, Emmett, that's not what humans actually do. It's not?
It's not. What are you...
Why didn't anybody Edward? You could have told me.
Yeah.
I look like an idiot carrying around a bunch of hard foil.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, is there anything else about Charlie and Renee that you want to dive into?
Not yet, because I feel like there's a lot more to dive into them as we get into the second half.
Right.
But I think I'm all good on them now. How about you?
I mean,
Anything else you can think of?
no, actually. I think we did good.
I think we covered everything that we really want. We didn't really talk about the story per se, but
We didn't. Yeah, we kind of.
I think talking about the things that people don't talk about is actually really interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Because I feel like not a lot of people delve into the backstory of Renee and Charlie, and like
Right.
that's who raised Bella, like our main character.
They are, yeah. They're like to get to know our
Her.
main character. Yeah,
We have
getting
to
to
know
know our
her
main
living
character, you
situation.
have to go back to like who created that main character and
I
like
mean,
why is that
yeah,
character the way they are. You look at her parents and
it's kind of like what's so interesting about the Cullens is how they came to be who they are and why we find their backstories so interesting.
Mhm.
Because you have, Edward's parents, his mother being so doting on him and being the reason why Edward is where he is at this point in time. You have Emmett's family, which, if you want more information on them, please go check out the House of Luce on Instagram. They've got some great stuff going on over there, revolving all around the McCarty
Yes.
family.
Not sponsored, but
Totally not sponsored.
totally not sponsored,
Just
but
big fans.
go check out House of Luce on Instagram as
I
they
mean,
prepare to bring Emmett's story to life.
Yeah, because even Carlisle talks about how his dad kind of shaped how he is the way he
Right.
is.
So
So I
I
feel like
think
it's fitting to talk about
it's
Renee
fitting
and
to talk
Charlie.
about them, yeah. It's very fitting to talk about Bella's parents because there's a lot that we do know, a lot that
A
is
lot
told
that
in
we
the
don't
story, and a lot that people hook onto
speculate.
and
Yeah,
speculate. But there's so much. I feel like there's still a lot that people don't either they don't know because they've only read the books, or they knew, but they forgot.
yeah.
So I think it is a very good.
I think this is a great.
I love doing deep dives. I think doing
I
deep dives
same.
are incredible. It's an incredible way to really get to know the character doing these deep dives. So, yeah, if anyone listening has comments about Charlie and Renee, check out our Instagram. We'll have some posts. We'll have some posts up in the next few days. Well, they'll already be up by the time y'all are listening to this, but yeah, go to those
In
posts and your
your
comment
own
your
thoughts.
opinions, your thoughts, and your questions that maybe we can answer at a later date
And
for
if
you.
there are any other characters that you want us to, delve into, because
Absolutely.
the side characters are just as important as the main characters, which
Absolutely.
we're
Yeah.
going to talk about the main characters regardless. But
Yes.
yeah, I love I love looking at the characters that are overlooked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so
And
much.
those who have listened before, you may have realized that our name has changed. That
Yeah,
is because we will not only be discussing Twilight, but down the road
we're branching out.
we plan on branching out and talking about many other fandoms. So if there are any fandoms out there that you want us to explore, to talk about,
Please let us know.
let us know. Let us know.
We're probably
And
already in it, but let us
right.
know so we can talk about it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that
So,
was a short conversation pod.
yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.